The wokeness that we usually see at the Oscars in the presentation wasn't. It didn't exist. And the reason for that is actually what I want to dive into a little more depth. Why is this happening? Was this intentional? Was it accidental? Was it a fluke? And the answer to that is no, it wasn't accidental. I want to give a little bit of a peek behind the scenes, what's happening in Hollywood, because what's about to happen, it hasn't even yet started to manifest. Or maybe the Oscars last night were the very beginnings of the public appearance of what's going to be a massive cultural movement. Not that Hollywood is becoming ideologically conservative. That's obviously absurd. They're still rife with cultural Marxism. They're still completely corrupt. But Hollywood is starting to learn a business lesson. Hollywood is starting to learn that you can't run a business for profit while you are actively vilifying half of your consumer base. In other words, Hollywood cannot continue to ridicule and demonize and hate conservatives and Christians and still hope to be a profitable industry and also a cultural influence. The wokeness that we see in Hollywood, there's always been wokeness, there's always been leftist ideology, there's always been communism actually in Hollywood for a long time, almost 100 years in Hollywood, since the 1950s. I guess that's what, 70, 80 years? But the recent wokeness, like the critical race theory and the queer theory stuff, that started in about 2014. It escalated in 2016. So first under the Obama administration, and then when Trump became president, when he was elected, that's when stuff really, really got nutty in Hollywood. And Hollywood started acting through these lenses. Like Hollywood actually acted out what we just ridiculed. They acted out critical race theory, which is discrimination against white people. They acted out DEI, which is not diversity, it's not equity, it's not inclusion, it's religious persecution, it's actual racism, it's intolerance. They started acting out these tenets of wokeism in a way that turned off more people than they could afford to turn off. And so what happened is, first of all, we got a couple of headlines in the lead up to the Oscars. I noticed this, that said, this year, the Oscars are going to be a little bit less political. And I didn't pay that much attention to those headlines because you usually see somebody trying to make that claim to get clicks. You usually see that report leading up to the Oscars, maybe as an effort to try to get more eyeballs, more conservatives, more Republicans to watch the Oscars. But this year, it was actually true. It wasn't that political of a presentation. Now, you can make the argument that the content that was presented was still pretty woke, and that's true. But the presentation, comparatively, was inarguably less political than usual. Hollywood is getting the message because, this is key here, because people that work in Hollywood are starting to lose their jobs. People are losing work because of the wokeness that Hollywood has embraced. Take Disney, for example. What happened at Disney recently? They recently announced that they are cutting billions of dollars in new content. Why? Because their stock prices have fallen, because their consumer base is smaller, because of the wokeness agenda that was exposed that underpins Disney. We can all see it in every Disney product, from their feminism to their critical race theory to their queer agenda that they embed in children's programming. This wokeness is costing Disney's business money, but when Disney's business is earning less money, they're profiting less, that doesn't just mean that we can sit here and point a finger and say, haha, Disney serves you right. It means that the people that work for Disney are going to lose their jobs. And that's what's happening. And that's not just happening at Disney, that's happening all over Hollywood. People, workers. This could be lower level actors, everyone on the set, behind the scenes and on camera of smaller productions, they aren't getting funded. People are being let go or laid off or not being able to find work because wokeness is negatively impacting the bottom line of these businesses that do need to profit in order to continue making content. This is something that, for the very first time, we are seeing our activism, our decision not to participate in Hollywood, our voices, our conservative voices, are finally starting to matter in Hollywood.